have some residualness in their play, and they figure out the best way to guard, different teams. But I think they'll figure it out.
Yeah, I hope so too. And one thing, Sean, we spoke before doing our podcast. Excuse me. The Bulls' pace of play is going to go way up. They're averaging so far in these first two games over 100 possessions a game, while last year they were at about 93, 94. So when you talk about that they're running more and they're getting quicker shots, and their defense is going to be on the floor a lot more than years past under Tom Thibodeau. So that will obviously scale the points in favor of the other team, but I think that this Bulls team still has that identity of a defensive team that you brought up under Tom Thibodeau. I mean, those guys love playing for Tibbs. Joakim Noah loved playing for him. Taj Gibson loved playing for him. Jimmy Butler, obviously. And I still think those defensive identity that the Bulls had under Thibodeau is still going to be there, but we're going to see, because of the offense scoring quicker and scoring faster, the defense it's bound to take a hit.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with a new coach, it's going to be different. And in basketball, if it's one kind of coach, it's going to be pretty much the exact opposite, because they didn't get the results that they were expecting, which was to get further in the playoffs and get to the finals. So with a new relationship with a girl or with a guy or whoever, with a coach, it's going to be, some rough spots, some learning curves, and you're going to get into the swing of things, I believe. They'll be just fine.
But undefeated right now, 2-0. So early in the season, but Sean and I are excited. Haven't seen Fred Hoiberg lose a game yet in the regular season. We've seen it in the preseason. Moving on to Joakim Noah and Nikola Mirotic, the swap. Nikola Mirotic, new starting power forward for the Bulls, as Pau Gasol is going to be the starting center, and Joakim Noah will come off the bench at center. What does this do for the Bulls? Why is this good? Why is this bad? If you do think it's bad, and how is it going to affect this team's identity moving forward?
Beginning the game, I guess they're essentially swapping defense for offense. I mean, Noah's kind of a rebound assist machine, really, and he put up at least low double-digit points on his good games. And then, having Mirotic in, they're increasing their offensive output and maybe going down, obviously, a bit in defense. Noah, was a defensive player of the year after all. But Mirotic, still coming from Europe, second year. So, he'll pick up, but it's a more offensive starting lineup than a defensive now. So you got Noah coming off the bench giving you those defensive plays now.
Definitely one thing I think it does too. It strengthens your bench because Nikola Mirotic, we saw him last year. He was still a little bit raw, but even though he was a rookie, he was not new to a pro style basketball. As he played overseas, he was a 2-time MVP in possibly the best league other than the NBA. So he knows how to play the game, and he's going to even be stronger this year. And Joakim Noah may have taken a few steps back, but he's still an elite defender. And you have him now as your secondary center. That's going to strengthen your bench for two reasons. The talent still of Joakim Noah and the ability to play lockdown defense in the post and switch out on smaller players, on forwards, on pick and rolls like LeBron. Joakim Noah loves. I mean, no one's going to stop LeBron, but Joe still does his best to contain him when he gets switched out like that. And Joe's also a terrific passer, which leads me to my next point. He's going to make the guys on the bench better. He's going to make Aaron Brooks better. He's going to make Doug McDermott better. He's going to make Taj Gibson better because they played with each other. They know how to play. So. And don't let me leave out Etuan Moore, who make that guy better too, just playing with them on the second unit.
Right. And it's really cool to see the second unit too, just remaining to be a solid backup, even as we've changed coaches, I think, even back to like Vinny Del Negro even. Let's not say his name too often on this, but we've always
all right.
Yeah. I mean, we've had solid like backups like for quite a while now, and it's good to see, especially Etuan Moore. I heard that was funny. He's remained consistent really ever since we got him, and it's really good to see that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Etuan Moore, and he has taken minutes away from Kirk Heinrich, and we'll get to that in just a second. Really quick, I wanted to say, though, Sean, Joakim, I can't stand all the reporters asking Joe about, so how do you feel about moving to the bench? They're trying to get like a rise out of him. Like, this is Joakim Noah. If you've been a Bulls fan since 2008 when the Bulls drafted him, he's all about winning. He doesn't care about anything else. He doesn't care about his own health when it comes to, if he can help the Bulls win, he's going to do whatever he can take. So I don't, everybody's saying, oh, it's an amazing thing that Joakim Noah is doing. No, it's not. This is who he is. He just wants to win. So, I mean, give him credit for it. He's a great guy. I mean, not a whole lot of guys would take to this role with a big smile on their face. But Joe is just one of those special guys that will do anything that he can to help his team win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen comparisons to him and Iguodala because he was a starter. He was a big guy on his previous team. He's coming off the bench with a positive attitude and a lot of energy that he's known for. And
he was the NBA Finals MVP.
Exactly, yeah. So I see the same thing potentially happening with Noah. And, yeah, it's even kind of like, now that I think about it, kind of like Starlin Castro, you know? He was brought down, played a little bit less, but right attitude, he gets the time in and puts up key plays when they're needed.
Yeah, good comparison there. Only difference was Castro had that attitude,
right,
and he switched to it. But still, right on point with that, because Castro didn't complain about it. He went out and did his job, just what Joakim Noah is going to do.
Yeah,
E'Twaun Moore getting playing time over Kirk Heinrich. E'Twaun in the game against Cleveland, he played 14 and a half minutes, and then last night against Brooklyn, he played 17 minutes. Heinrich played 5 last night against Brooklyn and didn't play at all in Cleveland. The reason why I bring this up is because I know fans for the last couple of years are saying, why is Kirk Heinrich playing? He's way past his prime. He's not the same player, and you're all right about that. And I agree with E'Twaun Moore and Aaron Brooks getting the majority of the backcourt minutes off the bench. I don't think Kirk should be in there that much. But let's talk about that with Fred Hoiberg coming in. I mean, because Kirk was he was a Tom Thibodeau guy in the sense that Thibodeau just trusted Kirk. It didn't matter if he gave them nothing on offense, which he really doesn't. I mean, the last few years, it was like the Bulls were playing 4-on-5 offensively. Kirk's excellent defender, but he wasn't shooting well. But Thibodeau would always fall back on Kirk just because he trusted him defensively. Now you bring in Fred Hoiberg, who's an offensive-minded coach, and Kirk's minutes are dipping, but he's a lot like Joakim Noah. He's that guy that just wants to win, and I think it's going to help. I think he's going to be helpful in the playoffs to come in and put in 10 minutes of defense on there. But right now, last year and this year, why would they even be playing Kirk? And Fred Hoiberg's not going to do that much.
Right, I agree completely. As you were saying that, I was listening the entire time, by the way, but I did start to think about, he's in a mentor role more now, it seems like. And then, obviously, I'm not comparing them because Kirk, I think, still has a lot more to offer, but I just started thinking of Brian Scalabrine. Like, he's a veteran. He knows what he's doing. He could be a potential coach in the future.
Really quick to cut you off, he's like a player coach, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I agree completely. And I think that's kind of becoming his role now. He can come in if he needs to, but he's kind of just mentoring the younger guys and, helping out.
I mean, he's still called Captain Kirk.
Yeah.
He's still a captain. He's still a great locker room guy. He's been a Bull. I don't care if he played on Washington for a year and Atlanta for a year. He's a Bull. He's always been a Bull.
Even when he was on those teams. Said the same thing too. I think in interviews he's always said he kind of missed the team and wished he was back on the team.
Yeah, I have no doubt about it. He's going to retire here, and he's one of those guys too that is going to take this role with no problem. He's not going to complain about playing time. He knows where he is in his career, and I think everybody sees that. But Kirk is still going to be a cheerleader on the bench and in practice where no cameras are involved. No one's going to see him. He's going to be a leader on this team, and he's going to help these younger guys like E'Twaun Moore. Aaron Brooks is a little bit older. He's in his late 20s, but he still needs some veteran leadership, and Kirk Heinrich will provide that. So looking forward, Sean, to tomorrow night, the Bulls will play another Eastern Conference, well, actually in their division, the Central Division, for the Detroit Pistons. Detroit has been pretty bad the last few years. They come into this game, same record as the Bulls, 2-0, under Stan Van Gundy, their head coach. And Stan's trying to build this team that he built in Orlando when he had Dwight Howard. Now in Detroit, he has Andre Drummond, and he's bringing in guys that can shoot from the perimeter, like an Ersan Ilyasova. He has Brandon Jennings will be hurt. He won't be playing. He's got Reggie Jackson, who's not a great shooter, but Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. But this team looks young, hungry, pretty decent. I mean, it's a team that's definitely moving in the right direction.
Yes, I agree very much. It takes a while for a team to not only gel, but to build to be competitive. And I think they're still in that stage of rebuilding into a team that people will recognize, and no one's going to take any team in the NBA for granted. But it's a team that you might happen to overlook sometimes. But they're definitely a team on the rise though right now.
Yeah, and last year the Pistons really took it to the Bulls. I mean, on November 10th, their first game, Bulls beat the Pistons 102-91. On February 20th of actually this year, 2015, last NBA season, Pistons won 100-91. That was in Detroit. And then on March 21st in Detroit, Pistons won 107-91. And then back on April 3rd, Bulls at home won 88-82. So this game against Detroit is going to be in Detroit. So the Pistons hold a 2-game winning streak at home against Chicago.
Yeah, it speaks for playing in front of your home crowd and the Bulls playing on the road. You gotta be able to play, obviously well overall, but you gotta play on the road well, because for all you know, you won't have home court advantage in the playoffs. God forbid we get in the playoffs. I think we will. It's safe to say, I believe, in the Eastern Conference.
You chalk that up.
Yeah.
I mean, we've seen it where the Bulls' best player, Derrick Rose, has gone down in the past, and the Bulls still have enough talent. It's not a one-man team anymore like it used to be when Rose's rookie year, second year, or even third year. So, I think we can chalk it up that there will be a playoff team.
Yeah. It's still hard, looking at the East and then looking at the West, because the best in the East might be middle of the pack in the West, and opposite, the worst in the West could be the best in the East. But we are in the East, and I'm grateful for that, and we still have to play good on the road, especially in places where it's kind of a raucous crowd, so to speak.
Yeah, and, even though I said a lot of good things about the Pistons, I like their team. I like what Stan Van Gundy's doing in Detroit. I think it's a young team that's on the rise. But when you look down at this is a team the Bulls should sweep this year. I mean, it's a team that the Bulls, I think last year, and it wasn't just Detroit, it was a lot of teams that the Bulls were more talented than. They were better coached than. They were better than, but they play to the level of competition. They don't have that killer instinct, and they let these teams jump on them, and that shouldn't happen. It really shouldn't. I mean, Golden State doesn't do that. The old Bulls, I'm not trying to compare these teams because this team is not comparable to the old Bulls, and right now it's not comparable to last year's Golden State Warriors. They won a championship. This Bulls team is 2-0, but we see the talent on this team, Sean. Derrick Rose, former MVP, coming back from the injuries. Jimmy Butler, last year's most improved player, first-time All-Star. Tony Snell is coming into his own now, is starting that small forward spot in place of Mike Dunleavy. Nikola Mirotic is looking like a young rising star. He was second last year in the league in Rookie of the Year voting, and he was on the all-rookie team. And then you talk about Pau Gasol, who started for the All-Star game, led the league in double-doubles last season. So they have a lot of talent. And then you look at Detroit, a lot of nice players, as I mentioned, Andre Drummond, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. They brought in Ersan Ilyasova. They got rid of Josh Smith. Now they lost Greg Monroe. He went to Milwaukee, so the Bulls will see him 4 times this year. But still, the talent levels aren't even close. Chicago should sweep this series.
Absolutely. I mean, you can win, but you need to dominate, really, the teams that you're supposed to dominate if you're going to be winning an NBA title. If you're squeaking by wins against teams that are subpar compared to you, then there's still work to be done. Even though you may have chalked up a win, there's still improvements that need to be made.
So Bulls definitely have to go in there and take care of business. Thank you so much for listening to the ImprobaBULLS. I'm Cody Grant. He's Sean Conley.
I am.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great day.